With no wither and no TNT, this one tree farm can produce regular oak, regular birch, stripped birch, regular jungle, and stripped jungle logs. Welcome to the Nims tree farm. It's an AFK farm that uses the main hand offhand system to simultaneously plant and destroy trees. In the strip log mode, we get about 5,000 logs per hour, while in the regular log mode, we get less at about 800. This is because the regular logs require you to punch them down with your hand, which takes much longer. The farm is optimized to give you insane sapling return, which means all you need to worry about is bone meal. And speaking of bone meal, I strongly suggest you build this right next to our AFK skeleton farm. Not only will it supply you with all the bone meal you need, but it will also feed you experience, which repairs your mending axe and levels up your player. The farm clocks in at a relatively small 11 by 11 by 12 and is relatively cheap to build, especially when you consider it doesn't require TNT duping or a wither cage. Before we begin, in the strongest words possible, build this next to your skeleton farm. You need bone meal, and yes, the farm will work without an axe, but at some point you're going to need 1,000,000 frickin' wood for some giant project, and you're going to want the better rates the axe mode provides. To start, choose where you want to AFK. If you're building this next to the skeleton farm, you'll be 4 blocks back from your wolves. Wherever you've decided to build this, we're going to start with a hopper to the left, immediately under where you want to AFK, into a double chest. We're going to place down a bunch more hoppers, all feeding into that double chest. Glowstone, solid block, glowstone, solid block. Then we're going to step back. We're going to place a dropper facing in, a few solid blocks to kind of create an enclosure here, 2 unpowered powered rails, a trap door that flips up, and then a dirt block above that powered rail with 2 hopper mine carts. And we're going to spin around, add another double chest to the left, and a solid block underneath. Now we're going to spin around to the back of the design and add 3 droppers facing straight up into a dispenser facing forward over top your dirt block. Then 3 hoppers feeding from your double chest into that bottom dropper. Now we can spin around to the front of the design, add a door, clean it up aesthetically, maybe add a slab above your double chest, a bunch more solid blocks to kind of enclose everything, make the double chest look a little bit better, a stair behind that double chest, and then 4 more solid blocks to make it uniform. Next, we're going to add the Nims timer that allows us to quickly and easily swap between hand and axe mode. We'll denote this with a sign with a lever underneath it, a 1-tick repeater out of that lever block with a solid block, redstone dust on top of it, 3 more solid blocks, a comparator set to subtract mode, very important, another comparator, and a chest or barrel with 11 stacks of items in it. Then we're going to add a whole bunch more solid blocks off the side of this. This will form a foundation that we're going to build the rest of our redstone on. Back to that first comparator, we're going to place another, also set to subtract mode. 2 more comparators, solid block, comparator, solid block, redstone dust, 2 more comparators, this time feeding into a jack-o'-lantern. This will keep light levels up to prevent mobs from spawning. 4 more comparators into 2 pieces of redstone, another comparator, solid block, redstone dust, comparator, 2 more solid blocks, and lastly with a piece of redstone on top of that. Next, we're going to add the Bonemeal spam clock. This will make a little bit of noise at the very beginning, but by the time the farm is done, it'll only make noise when there is a sapling down that needs to grow. Anyway, sticky piston, 2 observers, 1-tick repeater into some redstone dust, 2 solid blocks, slab off the side of it, destroy the second solid block, 2 pieces of redstone dust, and then spin around underneath, and 3 jack-o'-lanterns just to keep light levels up. Now we're going to add the sapling collection system. Start out with a hopper into that very first dropper we placed. Every single dropper that's going to go down in this step is going to feed back into that very first original hopper. And don't worry if you don't get it all right off the bat. We are going to have some wide shots that you can use to see the directions our hoppers face. Also, we are using the Vanilla Tweaks texture pack that allows us to see those arrows so we can, visualize the direction our hoppers are pointing. At the very end here, we're going to add 8 more hoppers, creating kind of like this starburst pattern. Here's that wide shot. Feel free to pause the video if you feel like you missed something. Once you've got this pattern down, we're going to drop down and on the left side place a redstone block with 2 1-tick repeaters off of it. Skip a block, 2 more 1-tick repeaters, solid block in front of those. And we're going to place another 1-tick repeater into the back of that dispenser with a solid block off the back of that. Next, we're going to add a enclosure around the entirety of the tree farm. We're going to start out with a bunch of solid blocks, and I do want to note we destroy a solid block there. We're going to start out with a bunch of solid blocks, and these can be any solid block. I'm just using quartz because it looks aesthetically pleasing for a tutorial, but you should probably use something like cobblestone because it's very easy to come by. Next, we're going to add 5 jack-o'-lanterns, 5 lit jack-o'-lanterns in the center of each one of our walls. You can use the dirt block at the very center to get a good baseline. This will keep the light level high enough to prevent monsters from spawning and also allow our trees to grow. Next, we're going to create a little 3x5 wall of melons and then a little 2 melon stack right next to that. These technically don't need to be melons. They do need to have the requirement of not sticking to slime blocks while also allowing for a redstone signal to pass through them. So melons work, pumpkins work, obsidian works, although it's much harder to get, and furnaces technically work, but furnaces are tile entities and those create lags, so I don't recommend those at all. Once we've got that finished, we're going to add 3 sticky pistons on top of that 2 melon stack. This will be the beginning of our leaf crushing system. Oop, I misplaced one there. This will be the beginning of our leaf crushing system. Once we get those sticky pistons placed, we're going to place some more solid blocks. Part of this is aesthetics. Part of this is to keep our saplings inside of the farm. Once we get these like 4 triple piston extension systems running, saplings go flying, and we want to make sure that they, stay inside of the farm. Once we finish that, we're going to spin back around to the inside of the farm. We'll find that dispenser and use that to get perspective. We're going to start working on the back left leaf crushing system. So we're going to place down 5 slime blocks, 4 open fence gates, and then a glass block at the bottom. You can see if there was a triple extension, that glass block would sweep off any saplings that would get stuck on top of our dispenser. Anyway, from there, it's pretty easy. We're just going to place down 5 more slime blocks in front of all of these triple sticky pistons, and then 5 open fence gates immediately to the left of those. Then we'll come to the top of the design, grab some more solid blocks, and add 2 blocks of height around the entire top of this farm. I do want to note that we leave a small air gap above our leaf crushing systems. This is so any saplings that would happen to get trapped there would be able to fall down and thus be collected by our hopper system on the next tree crushing cycle. And of course, I'm using quartz because it's aesthetically pleasing. Cobblestone is probably the cheapest for you. Next, we're going to make a 5x5 section of open fence gates. When this farm is running, saplings really do go flying. Open fence gates will allow those saplings to fall back down inside the farm and thus be collected by the hoppers below. It also prevents our oak trees from growing into super trees, which this farm wouldn't be able to handle. Last thing to do is to set up the redstone for the leaf crushers. We'll start out by placing a solid block, so that way we can place this slab right next to it. A few more solid blocks with another solid block there. 4 pieces of redstone with a 1-tick redstone repeater. Then on top of that, jack-o'-lantern, a redstone torch, jack-o'-lantern on top of that, redstone torch again, jack-o'-lantern above that. Then we're going to come around to the side of it, grab some more solid blocks, destroy that one. Then we're going to create a little trail here, and note we use a slab when we cross in front of those pistons. Some more solid blocks, and then 3 more onto the front of it. Then we're going to create a little stair step pattern here. On the top stair, redstone dust, middle stair, 2-tick repeater, bottom stair, 4-tick repeater. Then we're going to fill this entire pathway in with redstone dust, leading all the way back to that jack-o'-lantern. We're going to create that little stair step again. Now you can kind of see how it would power your pistons. Again, with redstone on the top, 2-tick repeater in the middle, 4-tick repeater on the bottom. Then go back down to the bottom of the design. Off of that very first torch, 3 solid blocks with a jack-o'-lantern, redstone torch in the middle, 3 pieces of redstone in between. Off the side of that torch, we're going to go solid block, and then we're going to create like 3 steps up, and then we're going to create another little trail that circles the entirety of the farm, slab where we would cross in front of those pistons, and then more solid blocks, Another stair-step design here. You can see how it would power the pistons. Redstone dust, 2-tick repeater, 4-tick repeater, and then redstone dust all around that trail, all the way back to that very first jack-o'-lantern. And then one last stair-step design with a redstone dust on top, 2-tick repeater, and you guessed it, a 4-tick repeater. And that's pretty much it. That's the build. Now that you've finished the farm, you're probably wondering, how do I use the dang thing? Well, good question. The first thing that we need to do is load it up on bone meal. So go into that top left double chest and just put as much bone meal as you've got inside of there. Next, we've got to grab our sapling of choice. We'll enter the farm, jump up on that trap door, then jump and place a sapling on top of that dirt block. Now, your farm has probably been running this entire time, so your tree will quickly grow. Let's start by farming some regular logs with hand mode. First, make sure the lever is set appropriately, then grab a stack of saplings. Remember, this farm only works with oak, birch, and jungle saplings, and place them anywhere on your action bar. Enter the farm, jump up on the trapdoor, and aim at the top edge of the first log. Then start holding both right click and left click simultaneously. That's it. That's all you need to do. Enjoy your 800 regular logs per hour. No need for the experience/skeleton farm if a bunch of regular logs was all you wanted. If you want the 5,000 logs per hour, we'll need to swap to axe mode, which means you'll need to have built this next to a constant experience flow, like the skeleton XP farm. Then we'll need a diamond axe that has mending, unbreaking 3, and efficiency 5. Similar to before, you'll need a stack of saplings, but this time you'll place them in your offhand so your axe can sit in your main hand on the action bar. Then enter the farm, jump up on the trapdoor, and aim at the top edge of the first log. Hold down both right click and left click, then AFK. The experience from these skeletons will keep your axe repaired while you lumberjack away. One final note, if you have a faster or slower axe, you can adjust the timings of the farm by adding or removing items from the barrel we placed earlier. This is for advanced users, so modify at your own risk. Lastly, the majority of this farm was developed live over on Twitch TV, so if you're not following me there, link below. Additionally, without the people supporting me on Patreon, I couldn't have dedicated as much time to this build as I have. If you've got a few bucks to spare, consider supporting me and all future builds. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Nims Toots, and hopefully it didn't sting.